It's surprisingly 50 years later. I was 13 before Darth Vader. It was my first gig in camera, 8mm Bell and Howell in color, Super 8mm, Super 8, Super 8, Super 8, Super 8. It's not a very flattering angle. 1967. They don't run things the way they do. Back then they ran things differently. Back in those days, we had entertainers that had very strong categories. There were none in the multicultural department other than my dear old pops, who died in 97 from lung damage. Held that cigar smoke in too long, you know. His third wife, Lesia Zubrak, she laid down the law. This little Prince Albert opera singer, 5 feet tall, plus maxo spikes and gigantic bublachki. Good Ukrainian girl. Meets up with the other Ukrainian, Miroslav Pizhuk, my dad. Miroslav, what an odd name, Miroslav. How do you spell that, Miroslav? You know, in Russian, in Slavic language like Ukrainian and Yugoslavian, they just roll it off their tongue. But when they translate it to English, it turns into caca, and we all know what that means. So it's 50. Yes, 55 years later. Why do I keep saying 55? Because that's how this jingle started. I wrote it for Mad, 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 Mad World, a movie produced and directed by Stanley Kramer. He's the guy that did Guess Who's Coming to Dinner? Sidney Poitier. Was it Sidney Poitier? He also did the Nuremberg trial. Stanley decided to do a comedy. And I don't know if they budgeted $9 million, $9.4 million back in 1963. Probably started years before that, like say 1960. They're already budgeting for this movie. It was a series of bizarre possible events that we probably have never seen before until the movie was made, such as all the fighting that went on and how stupid the fighting was and how stupid the operation of equipment always was, and how you could drive cars like an asshole and mindless because all you're thinking about is you got to get to where the money is, the big W. We got to find the big W. And all these famous comedians were involved. Some of them got leading roles, and some of them just got cameos. Well, I'll start with the cameo guys. Jerry Lewis. That's right, he's still alive too. His only hit song was on a kid's record. Never smile at a crocodile. Never tip your hat and stop to talk a while. Don't be taken in by his welcome grin. He's imagining how well you'll fit within his skin. Never smile at a crocodile. Never tip your hat and stop to talk a while. Don't you stop and have a chat. Exchange some recipes and stuff like that. Never smile and clear the aisle at Mr. Croc. So it's, all right, I give up. I'm going to stop trying to change the stupid song. But it goes like this. It's 55 years later. There's 3 stars left, not Darth Vader. Understand it so far? It's 55 years later. There's 3 stars left. Movie stars, not Darth Vader. Okay, that'll get the attention of the baby boomer children, because we started having kids in the 70s, us boomers. That's when the baby boomers started having kids, and we couldn't decide what to call them. We called them Gen X and all that other stuff. So it's 55 years later, there's 3 stars left, not Darth Vader. Now here's their names. Barry Chase, Jerry Lewis, and Carl Reiner. That's all that's left out of the cast. Now Jerry just did the cameo. Carl Reiner did a bit part. He was the air traffic controller that was reacting to the actual twin-engine Beechcraft that was coming straight at him and doing barrel rolls. This is before CG. They did the real thing. Coming straight for the tower, the air traffic controller's tower. And it's being piloted by Mickey Rooney and Buddy Hackett. What's Buddy Hackett famous for? Well, the one that besides his stand-up comedy and his visits to the Ed Sullivan Show, I know him lovingly because of Herbie the Love Bug, Walt Disney. Buddy Hackett played that sweet little former race car driver, super mechanic, Herbie the Love Bug, guardian. I remember the one scene when they were drinking Irish coffee and there was way too much alcohol and they got pissed. So there's Buddy Hackett, and Herbie drank some too, and Herbie got drunk. Okay, let's start again. It's 55 years later. There's 3 stars left, not Darth Vader. Chase, Lewis, and Reiner. Pretty good, eh? Chase, Lewis, and Reiner. So in other words, let's chase Lewis. Oh, what does that mean? Chase Lewis and Reiner? Reiner? Yeah, Meathead's dad. Remember Meathead? It's a mad Canada world. It's a mad Canada world. And I think duh should be spelled duh, D-U-H. Because we keep saying sorry because we know how dumb we are. But it's kept us alive and we're living better, so it can't be that bad. Chase Lewis and Ryder. Chase Lewis and Ryder. Chase Lewis and Ryder. The mad, sad, glad, bad world. So think of Wharton Willie. Global warming, it's so chilly. So insulate, don't just mass debate. Notice I didn't say masturbate, I said mass debate. It's a mad Canada world. So that was 2 verses. Now we're going to go to the chorus. Or it could be construed of as a bridge as well. Still working on that. It's Canada 150. Do people know what that means? It's Canada 150. Do people know what that means? Think of heritage, history, happiness, hope, and harmony, health for our queen. Now, the Americans don't have a queen. She's our queen. No matter how corny we think that is, she's the owner of the Commonwealth, and she's public property. And she's probably one of the wealthiest people in the world. And God save the Queen. Is she an our queen or a the queen? Yeah, it's the queen. Queen. Something in the way she moves, it drives all the royalty crazy. Something in the way she rules me. I don't know how she's doing it. She's doing it really well. Hey, Pope Francis. You've got an encyclical that you've announced, and you don't use the word published in papal terms. So you come up with this word called encyclical. Encyclical, it does cycle itself, and it's entombed. It's inset. It's embedded. It's used to go run out the Chris show. I don't know how. Rule of improv in music. If for some reason you don't agree with a discord and create a train wreck, well, keep the train wreck going then. Turn it into an effect. So here's the train wreck. It's a bit of a discord. Why? I think it's one chord, the upper chord. This one is dominant over what's going on in the left hand, which is this chord right here. Now put them both together and it creates a discord. But interesting, and it seems to be taking us somewhere. Let's resolve it. We went to another train wreck. Another train wreck. Waiting at the Best Broke, eating their ice cream and hot dogs and soda pop in front of the Best Broke, which was a make-work project in 1936 in Saskatchewan. Who would have believed? That Hitler, dying on April 30th, 1945, would trigger the world's first flash mob. Official one, but unpublished. An unofficial flash mob, unpublished, and yet to be proven. So we're going to have to recreate it in a movie. But what happened was, there was a big black smoke belching steam noisy locomotive with a big bell. Ding, ding, ding. Whoop, whoop. Well, not quite that. That's more Disney. We had more like oh, Canada. Yeah, the diesel engines had those big horns. The steam ones, they had steam. And it was whoop, sounded like a calliope. And 150 cast and crew on board that train. CNR, CPR, I don't know what R. It's a railroad and it's crossing Canada. And they were all in costume. Costume? That's because they're in uniform. It was all Royal Canadian Navy. They, in their presentation, they wore what they wear during the day. They just wore it. So you had the sailors, they had two costumes, one in white, one in black. They both had the sailor caps, and they both had the bibs. And they had black shoes, you know. And when they wore it against the white pants, that really stood out. And of course, they wore the black shoes with the black pants. And they also had blue. Yeah, they had different colors. So anyway, they had practiced for, I think, a month. They scrambled together this group, sponsored by the Royal Canadian Navy, and who made a contract deal with Paramount Pictures. So they basically borrowed the choreographers and the movie director later. Yeah, they actually leased actors from Paramount Pictures in 1943. Interesting story that Captain Connolly was the man that was producing it from... He was an actual captain, but he was a desk captain. He didn't have a ship. He might have had a ship at one time. Anyway, he created the fund to go into production on a movie, I should say the movie came after, on a cross Canada by train gala, somewhat burlesque entertainment to encourage people, to give people hope, and to recruit. So they come off the train on PE Day in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. This big black smoke belching train where the mall is today. It was at the end of the street on 21st Street in Saskatoon. At one end of the street was the train tracks. First Avenue North, they call it. Could have been called Railway Avenue at one time. Then, at the other end of the street, there's 21st Street in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan in 1945. At the other end was a big castle of a hotel called the Besbro. Yes, the Besbro. And it was owned by the railroad. It was called CNR, CPR, whatever R. And all the cast and crew were filing off the train in 1945 on the day Hitler died, April 30th. PE Day in Saskatoon, the world's first flash mob. But they didn't know it. We didn't start calling it that till later. Meet the Navy, oh greet the Navy, is that what we're here for? Meet the Navy, you'll love the way we march while we sing for. We got a story to tell and it's a doozy as well. It's as old as Broadway is young. So come out and see a doozy with me and meet the Navy tonight. And they did this fantastic march. They were all lined up horizontally and just like a stopwatch, like arms on a, like a compass with two arrows that goes around. The red arrow's pointing one way and the other arrow could be white or black or whatever, is pointing the other way, 180 degrees from each other. And it's and here's a lineup of sailors. There's like 30 of them, from left to right, maybe more. Go to see the movie. Meet the Navy, oh greet the Navy, is that what we're here for? Meet the Navy, you'll love the way we march while we sing for. We got a story to tell and it's a doozy as well. It's as old as Broadway is young. So come out and see a doozy with me and meet the Navy march while we sing for? Well, after the performance, it was actually a preamble to the evening's performance. They gave a sampler, and people were lined up at the Capitol Theatre. Now, the Capitol Theatre had theaters in all of the railway stop major locations, like Vancouver, and Saskatoon was lucky enough to get one. We were on that route, the Trans-Canada coast-to-coast train system we had back in 1945. Anyway, this train was dedicated to this group. In other words, they had to... Well, basically, they chartered this train, so they had to veer off to get off the main thoroughfare. They had to go park this big long thing somewhere, That's why they had more than one track going into a train station. The more tracks you had, the more you could divert non-express customers. Okay, so what we got across here today, boys and boils, is the connection between Canada 150 and Hollywood and World War II Royal Canadian Navy. And in closing, I want you to realize that 100 years ago in Siberia, the Russian royal family, that would be Nicholas Romanov and his family, including Anastasia and the youngest boy, this family was illegally executed, illegally because the former government would have exercised that right, that law. But the takeover government, which were called Bolsheviks, they orchestrated this, and they had a problem. After the destruction, the termination, the elimination of the royal family, there were still scattered sub-royals all over the place, and Elsa Romanov was one of them. So what do they do with these vagrants? The White Russians is what they were. White Russians. Belarus. White. Biela. Biela means white. Rus, Russians. Belarus. There's actually a province in Russia called Belarus. Actually, it's a sub-country, Belarus. And Belarus is not where the KGB was found. KGB came with the Red Russians and the Bolsheviks. So they're basically a new kind of Gestapo secret agency that are still around even from the Soviet regime. Song of Youth. Молодежная. No one has really taken Russian music and put Canadian lyrics to it. Simply because when they do a direct translation, it sounds corny. It sounds stupid. What they forget to do is to add the element or the unfear of comedy. Now, comedy happens by itself, but don't try to block it out like we do. That's what Canadians do. We try to block out comedy. Oh, you're not trying to make me laugh, are you? No. Or, oh, I'm sorry for being Canadian. Yes, it's Canada. Oh, I gotta finish my song. It's 55 years later. There's 3 stars left, not Darth Vader. Chase loose and ride on the mad The mad, bad, glad, sad world. Might give the first one back to Stanley Kramer because it's the mad, 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 mad world. So I would change that in the first chorus. I don't want to be total plagiarist because we're not plagiarizing here. We're metaphorizing. Mad, 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 sad, glad, bad world, which is a term that psychiatrists use. You mad, sad, glad, bad. You know what kind of patient are you? Are you mad, sad, glad, or bad? Here, lighting. Woo! Oh, see how much yellow that's added to there? Look at that. Now I've got yellow skin. So, where do we get up to so far? I mean, I threw a lot of material at you over the past, how many? Is there a clock on this stupid thing? There's no clock on the YouTube. Where's the clock? Where is it? Oh, 32 minutes. Okay, well, that's enough. Okay, where I'm at here, folks. Okay, I want to go around Canada starting August 3rd. August 3rd, 2017 is 150 days from New Year's. Then it's all over, officially. There's a lot of people out there that believe that July 1st was it, after the party and ate their ice cream and free hot dog. That is if they didn't get charged 25 cents for their ice cream cone like they did at Diefenbaker Dam. But they got a free hot dog. Ugh. And make sure you schedule it so that it's a bad time for everybody. You know, I see the Trudeau government's been doing a lot of that lately. They've been putting up big barriers. They're making things so difficult to apply for that when you do finally answer all their questions, they just don't know what to say when you're applying for a fund. Say, for example, the Canada 150 Heritage Fund. I applied for $406,000 to do a traveling band with a movie crew and doing live improv in reality as we go through absolutely everything. 400,000 is pretty cheap, actually. And if they came in, then I would have to find a broadcaster that would trigger Creative Saskatchewan to donate 30% of the budget. Okay, what does that mean? Well, if we say, for example, $400,000 was represented 70% of the budget, if $400,000 represented 70% of the budget, okay, get your calculators out. The remaining 30% would be how much money? Well, 30%, I would go 30% of, yeah, see, there's an unknown there. There's an X. This is an equation. X is what we're looking for. Oh. But see, the undetermined factor is that what is the broadcaster or the distributor going to contribute to the project? You see, that's the unknown. That's what you got to establish. Now, when you're working in terms of $400,000 and say, for example, what if Creative Saskatchewan matched that? Okay, that means that the broadcaster or the distributor would have to match that. Now, so that's 1.2 million, which is not enough to do a movie. So this would be a low budget production. It would be
I'd shoot most of it on cell phone cameras, just like we are right now. They already proved that it can be done, has been accepted, and it was tolerated. Trouble is that when you lead a project with technology, what suffers? The reality of the script, which is done as improv. When you're interviewing somebody, that's improv. You don't know what you're going to get. You don't know what the person's going to say. Improv. Okay, we're coming up to 36 minutes and 36 minutes. Yeah, I should wrap that because to broadcast a TV show with commercials, I think that's pretty much your limit. The rest is commercials. You get 40 minutes, I think, and the rest is commercials. Isn't that horrible? Oh, commercials. And you know what bugs me? Why can't the commercials be more closely skewed? In other words, the production company that's done the movie, they're the ones that should be doing the commercials of the clients, rather than them jamming stuff that makes no sense of the documentary theme, which in this case is I fell in love on my way to Hollywood. What's your excuse?